I'm going to turn things over to Stephen and Jacob. They had a few things to go over with you about the upcoming district tournament to get your kids all to nationals. So give it up for two of our district committee members, Stephen Jones and Jacob Abraham.
Yay, Jones!
Hey, Jacob. Am I starting? You're starting? All right. So I'm Stephen Jones. I'm the coach at Northeast. I know probably a lot of you, maybe not everyone. Anyway, I'm on the district committee as well as Jacob. And I just want to thank Jacob because he kind of stepped in this year. We had some kind of shifting around, as I'm sure a lot of you heard. And he kind of jumped in. And so he's serving on the community this year. And the other members of the community are Ryan Levesque and Ali Febrance and Renee Moss, who are all at private schools or independent schools now that Renee actually has her own school this year. So they won't be with us in this meeting, but they're also kind of serving our community. So we kind of met together, not physically, but we met and kind of planned out the general dates that we have. And I think Jacob has all those, and he's going to talk about them in a moment. I just wanted to quickly talk about Student of the Year and a couple of other, nomination process that we're going to go through. Essentially, there's a couple different ones. There's like Student of the Year and Administrator of the Year and Coach of the Year and Assistant Coach of the Year and kind of like Novice Coach of the Year. And it goes totally on a nomination basis. I would like to hype up mostly the Student of the Year. We'd love nominations for any of them. And what I'm going to do is, as long as it's okay with Justin and company, kind of piggyback on their email chain and send out a form that has like really detailed, better information than I can possibly relate. But Student of the Year is really cool.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, Stephen, remind me, and I'll just send you the list so you can just start a new chain without having to CC.
Okay, perfect.
Without having to respond to like a previous email and it all getting lost in, because I know Outlook groups threads together is weird. So
yeah, definitely. And we'll get that out probably in the next week or so. And that is actually open currently. So it's something you can start thinking about. But I think it's a really awesome award because it's meant to honor a student that it's not necessarily the student's like a monster out there in the field of speech and debate, like they're constantly getting trophies and things like that. It's more just like they are just a genuinely awesome citizen of the speech and debate community, and they have a heart of service, and they've just done, had an impact, maybe like coaching novices or, coaching, assistant coaching on your team or things of that nature. Last year, the girl that won was actually from a private school, and she had started this like amazing program. And that's really what it's meant to honor. So I think it's a really awesome award, and I just can't hype it up enough. So I'm just going to disseminate that information when I get that info from Justin, probably by the end of the week. And that's pretty much all I have to say. And then I'm going to turn it over to my compatriot, Jacob.
Yes, so my job is to tell you about upcoming events for the National Speech and Debate Association Manatee District. First and foremost, we have the easiest remind you will ever hear. It's at FL Man, so at Florida Man, for Florida Manatee, not for the dude who tried stealing that podium. So our district remind is at FL Man. We also have 4 tournaments that students can attend in order to qualify for the National Speech and Debate National Tournament. Up front, all of these tournaments are going to be online this year, and almost all, if not all of them, will be synchronous. So we are using an entirely synchronous model to mirror the National Speech and Debate Association National Tournament plans. We thought that mirroring the national tournament's plans was the best way to prepare our students for that tournament through the qualifying process. So the first tournament that you need to know about is the speech and debate qualifier. That will include all of the speech events, public forum, Lincoln Douglas, and policy. It will take place on Saturday and Sunday, February 20th and 21st. That's the weekend after Harvard and Valentine's Day weekend. So that's Saturday and Sunday, February 20th and 21st. That's the IEs, PF, LD, and policy. We then have a couple weeks between that and the Congress tournament. Remember, your students can enter in either House or Senate. Every school gets 2 Senate entries, and then House entry is based on the size of the program, essentially. That tournament takes place on a Thursday afternoon and Friday, March 11th and 12th. Odds are you'll need to fill out probably an extra field trip form for your students to make sure that they're able to get out of class on that Friday. So the Congress tournament, either House or Senate, will be Thursday afternoon, March 11th, and Friday, March 12th. Normally, we would do that because Flo so kindly hosts us at Pompano. Just to keep things consistent, we're going to keep with those times and days of the week so that we keep the memory as opposed to shifting to the weekend. It'll just keep things going with the tradition of the district. That same Friday, March 12th, Big Questions debate will also take place. So Big Questions competitors can compete in the other qualifiers, but not Congress qualifiers. That's just one of the tricks that we have going on there. So there's no overlapping between Big Questions and Congress entries. But the Big Congress question qualifier is going to be held simultaneous to the second day of Congress, Friday, March 12th. We then jump a whole month into April. Saturday, April 10th, World Schools Debate is going to overlap with the first day of Novice States. So if you're an FFL team and you've got stuff going on that first day of Novice States, your varsity competitors might not be able to judge because some of them might want to be competing in the World Schools Debate qualifier. Just let them know as far out in advance that they're probably going to have to pick one or the other. Odds are FFL doesn't care that they're not going to be available to judge the entirety, but that again will be up to FFL. The World Schools Debate qualifier is Saturday, April 10th. In the past, we limited the World Schools Debate qualifier to only juniors and seniors. The committee hasn't talked about that policy being continued. My suspicion is that they would continue for it, but if I hear back from enough people to discontinue that exclusive policy, I'm more than willing to argue on behalf of anyone who would like me to, that it should be open to more juniors and seniors. But for the past several years, that has been the practice. And then the national tournament won't take place until June 13th, which is after our school year is over. Kindly, we won't have to travel with our students if that's one of the reasons that perhaps you are reticent to participate in the national process. You will be at home like we were last year because it will be online instead of the cornfields of wherever we were supposed to be going. For those of you who have detailed questions that I might not be able to answer in this very moment about the qualifying process, there was an email sent out by the national organization on December 16th. So if in your Outlook you type National Speech and Debate Association and scroll back down to December 16th, either in your trash folder or spam, or maybe your inbox, unopened perhaps, you will see a very detailed email with lots of links from the NSDA that talks about the qualifying process. We are running the pilot rules, which for most of us really doesn't matter. Our students are just going to compete and do their best and hope for the best. But there are slightly different policies to the way we're organizing the tournament, but they are the pilot policies approved by the NSDA. The biggest thing that we ask that you take away from this quick little announcement is judges, judges, judges. We are desperately trying to ensure that we have the most competent, qualified, and experienced judges at these tournaments. So we're asking that you try and arrange those judges as far in advance as possible. Because we're online, the cost of the tournament is a little bit limited, but in order to make up for that, we're going to try and hire as many super qualified judges as we can to ensure we're letting our students compete in the best possible tournament that we can. The entries are set at $30 per person. I think it's per person, or is it per entry? Do you remember that one, Jones?
I believe per entry right now. I'm not 100% sure, but yeah, I'm pretty sure.
I think we said $30 per entry, and that's to make sure that we can ensure the best tournament possible. If you have students on FRL, that's a question for Megan. The practice has been that the district helped the schools who have students on FRL afford the qualifying tournaments. So
we will be covering 100% of FRL entries for districts.
Yay, equity. So that's important. Please take advantage of that opportunity. If you have students who feel disenfranchised from having participated in the past because they can't afford it, take advantage of this opportunity. I have absolutely zero doubt that there will also be schools, if not the district, willing to help if those students qualify to nationals and they otherwise had not expected to, since nationals is online.
We will pay 100% of entry fees for any FRL student that qualifies to nationals.
Oh,
And we'll pay
I love when Megan is ahead of me on things that I would
so
otherwise.
non-FRL students, we have a little bit of cushion in our budget because we don't have tournaments in person. So
yeah, so please, 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 especially if you have students that otherwise feel disenfranchised, get them into these tournaments because this is an awesome opportunity for them to excel and succeed and experience something potentially really cool. So those are my announcements with regards to the NSDA stuff.
Quick
I
question.
have other stuff that, yeah.
Sorry, just to clarify the entry fees then, since they're per entry. So if a student double enters, whether it's at one tournament, like if they double enter in speech, or across tournaments, like they double enter in debate and Congress, would that student pay 1 or 2 entry fees?
I went back and looked at the email, like the discussion that we had in the email, and the language isn't clear. So I suspect that we're going to have a district meeting to talk about it again. It was in part the meeting that we had with all the coaches who showed up back in December, and also some text back and forth amongst the committee. The number that we settled on was $30. Whether it was per person or per entry, I can't guarantee that answer confidently. But we'll get back to you with that answer. How's that? That's my answer. My answer is we'll get back to you with an answer.
Cool.
The extemporary in me will answer the question, but not perfectly.
And yeah, anyone else who has questions about districts for Stephen or Jacob, feel free to just unmute yourself and ask away.
Hey guys, I got a question.
Yep.
So you said, are students going to be allowed to double enter at just like one of the tournaments, like just like if they want to double enter and say like extemp and like oratory? Is there any restrictions on double entry?
I would check the pilot rules because I don't know if the rules changed. If I'm not mistaken, students are allowed to enter in up to 3 events.
Mm-hmm. And then they just have to pref, right?
Yes, they have to list their preference in case they qualify more than one event. I would just say double check the NSDA pilot rules. I'm willing to bet that that distinction is made in their documentation that they've published. You can also, anyone who wants can email Ryan Levesque. He will more likely know the answers to these questions than Jonesy or I, because we are somewhat less concerned with the competitive success of our kids and the rules for whether or not they qualify than some of the schools who compete nationally and are super concerned about nationals.
Okay.
Hopefully I didn't speak out of turn, Jonesy.
As far as I know, Jose, I think you're correct. But yeah, I mean, if we could get back to you with like a definitive answer, but as far as I know, you're correct. Like they just have to pref.
Yeah, and Justin put Ryan's email in the chat. He's at American Heritage School Broward, for those who are curious. Their new name.
One thing I would just also reiterate too, just from my time on the committee years and years ago, make sure, especially for the coaches that are new and might be attending districts for the first time, make sure that your NSDA membership is active. So log on. You can go to speechanddebate.org, log on, and it'll tell you whether your membership is active or inactive. Make sure it's active if you have students who would like to compete at any of the district tournaments, right? Whether it's speech and debate, Congress, big questions, worlds, right? Make sure your membership is active. And the individual students need to have 25 NSDA points in order to compete. So even if your school membership is active, if little Jane Smith hasn't earned 25 points, she can't compete. So just make sure, one, they've earned those points, and two, that you're entering those points into the NSDA database. Every time a student competes, they earn competitive points, NSDA points. So make sure you're putting those in. They have to have 25 points entered prior to the first tournament in order to be able to compete. If you don't know how to enter your NSDA points, I'm sure your district committee members would be more than happy to show you. Also, both of these district committee members here are now mentors, right? I know we all knew Jacob was, but Stephen Jones just recently joined us as a high school mentor. So thanks, Stephen, for agreeing to do that. So now we have 3 high school mentors, Jacob and Stephen here, and then Jim Wakefield as well. So yeah, I'm sure they would be more than happy to show you how to enter those NSDA points if you're not sure what that process is.
other-
A question that I'm sure I'm the only one that has, but my calendar that I got at the beginning of the year only had the first half of the year tournaments on it, and I haven't seen anything about a new calendar with the second half of the year. Did I just miss that, or is that forthcoming?
No, Justin sent that out to us.
It was in one of the Monday update emails in December, but I can send that out again.
Awesome. Yeah, because I tried to go through all those, but I did not see that. So thanks.
Just shoot me an email, John, so I remember after this meeting to send that to you.
All right. Perfect. Thanks.
And just one last thing, I dropped Jacob and my email are both down there in the chat. And as Justin said, like, we would be happy to help anyone if you have any, extenuating questions, or you need help entering points or membership questions or anything like that. We could be your go-to contact for that.
And I will add, Justin was talking about making sure that your students' points are up to date. Also double check that you have synced your rosters. That is sometimes confusing. If we can get the directions, we'll send that out to all of you. There is a cheat sheet that will make it much easier. But now that we're doing everything online, a lot of students' accounts are already linked to Tab Room, so that just makes things that much easier for everyone. Justin, I think Summer said that she had something else to do, so you want me to defer? And then
Yeah, if you want to go ahead and go over your classroom, the second thing you were going to cover, and then we can have Summer go at the end.
I'll go trade with Summer, Justin.
No worries.
Wait, am I trading or no?
No, yeah, go ahead. Before Jacob goes into the next topic he was going to cover, did anybody else have any questions about districts? No? All right, take it away, Jacob.
All right, so Megan asked me to come up with some tips that might make things a little bit easier for folks as we navigate the online, especially advanced debate class and kind of team management stuff that also builds off of what Gaynor was saying earlier. One of the things that I've utilized heavily was the extra courses that you can create in Canvas. I created a team Canvas page and gave all of my officers certain responsibilities within that team Canvas page. We added a new officer position to our executive board, which includes a feeder school liaison. So I assigned one of our seniors the responsibility of coordinating for finding judges that are needed by any of the middle or elementary school tournaments at their after schools and invitationals. That was one huge item that I took entirely off my plate. I don't have to worry about it at all. I have one student who keeps her eye on a discussion thread, and then shortly before the tournament, she sends that list to the high school coaches, or if there's no high school coach or middle school coach, that requested students, it gets sent off to the tournament to add those judges in. And it just makes life a lot easier for those of us who are really heavily involved with the feeder schools. The other thing that I've done to make sure that my students, especially in the online world, are getting a weekly assignment is what I call the weekly newspaper analysis. If you go into Canvas Commons and you type DebateBroward, you will see it there. It's a simple 5 questions, and the students pick a newspaper article from an accessible newspaper that's generally the front page is free online. They're expected to read that article. and answer those 5 questions. They're pretty simple. It hopefully takes them no more than 10 minutes. It works as a great weekly bell ringer or attendance check, but it also ensures that you have at least one very simple assignment to grade each week to make sure you hit those 9 grades by the end of the quarter, especially if you're do a longer project where there's end loaded and you need 4 or 3 grades by the midway point for progress reports. So those are 2 ways that I've tried to make things a little bit easier for myself, using my executive officers to take some of the tasks that I would otherwise be doing myself off of my plate. And I give them credit in terms of grading for doing that work. And also those weekly bell ringer assignments that make sure that parents know their kids are doing stuff. I make sure that they're reading the news and staying up on the world, and they're really quick and easy to grade. So those are 2 simple tasks that hopefully people can try and implement that they find useful as they go along with this online learning journey.
Awesome. Anybody have any questions about Jacob for that? Questions for Jacob about that? I'm sorry.
I have a question, Jacob. Hi. I love that idea of having a senior work on getting the judges. And you mentioned discussion thread. That threw me off. How are they connecting with potential judges?
So it's not judges for weekend tournaments. I'll show you right here. Can people see my screen? Hopefully, maybe. I'm gonna assume my share screen worked properly. So here is our team Canvas page. Contact information. Each of our events have their own little remind thread. Stuff about the team, who our officers are. And you'll see that we have community service directors, the fancy title I gave them so that it looks good on their resume. But Johanna is responsible for coordinating all of our judges for after school tournaments. So no, I want discussions. So I post a discussion for the upcoming MAST. And now I can see these are, if there's any replies yet, these are the students who have volunteered to judge for the upcoming middle school tournament. And Johanna will go through and comment eventually at the bottom of them that says, you're in. And those students will then know that they're set up with one of the schools or directly to Justin, that they're gonna be in the pool to judge the middle school after tournament. My team sends tons of judges every month to all of the after school tournaments at all 3 levels. That's one of the way that my team has kind of built their identity, is that they work with each other, but they enjoy judging way more than they enjoy competing in the online world. And that's still participating in the activity, so I'm giving them credit for that. You'll see if I go back to discussions, there's one for every single after school tournament. Judges needed. And that's how we keep, like, I don't have to worry about it at all. For after schools, I put those judges in directly because I'm also putting in our entries, but it's just one little simple way of not having to worry. And if your students are having issues joining the Canvas pages, if you go to settings and scroll all the way to the bottom, you can just send this code. This was mine. Don't send mine. Please don't have your kids join mine. But if you create a Canvas page for your team, you can use this enrollment code and it will automatically put them into the list of people who have joined.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
And there's my whole team. And Briggs. Hi, Briggs.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi.
There's Briggs. Yay, Briggs.
All right, cool. We've just got a couple minutes left, and Summer had a couple things to share with you about the upcoming climate summit.
Thank you, Justin. So we've our 3rd annual Youth Climate Summit coming up March 9th, 10th, and 11th. It will be virtual this year from 9 to 12 on each one of those days. I just found out we have over 2,000 students from Broward attending in grades 5 through 12. And we are in need of presenters. Because it is the Youth in Climate Summit, we are requesting that students be presenters. And we think our debate students are some of the best presenters in the county. So we were hoping that maybe we could have some of your students apply to be student presenters. The theme is global challenges, the regional implications, and the local action to these challenges. The deadline for this is coming up on the 21st. However, with that, all we need from that is the topic, name, and school. I really think it might be helpful if we have some students talk about how to effectively debate climate change with peers and their parents. I think the students know better than anybody else how the best ways to communicate, and especially with effective communicators in debate. So if you guys would please pass that along to your students, I can give Justin the flyer for that, so you can send out to your students or make it an extra credit project or something along those lines. We would really like to have our debate students present as presenters in the Youth Climate Summit, because it will be the largest and it is gaining some notoriety from throughout the state because it is so significant with the climate these days. Any questions about it?
Real quick, Summer. So you said the 9th, 10th, and 11th, right?
Of March, correct.
So would you need the kids for all 3 days?
I don't know. It would be just one present at one session.
Okay. Because yeah, the
and-
11th is the first day of the Congress national qualifiers. So
So obviously we could talk to the committee and say we can't do the 11th. Can you schedule me on the 9th or the 10th?
awesome. Anyone else have any questions for Summer? It's a great opportunity for your kids, like she said, to not only get out there and speak out about an important topic, but also get a lot of eyeballs from around the state and around the country watching them.
We will have a lot of county commissioners, people from the state. It'll be really good for the students. And again, I will, you can either email me and I can send you the flyer, or Justin can send out the flyer too. Thank you guys.
Along with the flyer, do you have the guidelines for what you would want for from the presenters?
So the flyer right now is very generic, but there will be an email address to ask any questions regarding it on there.
Awesome. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Summer. And that's all the time we had scheduled for this level meeting. So in about 5 minutes, we're going to start our third and final level specific session with Ben Miller. Most of you know Ben. He'll be joining us in just a moment. We'll start that at 6:45. So we've got about 4 minutes now. If you want to run to the restroom, grab something to eat real quick. We'll start in about 4 minutes. And it looks like Ben just joined us too. So we'll start in about 4 minutes, Ben.